you cannot violate this principle in film or television, right? You cannot have two people sitting in a scene agreeing with each other.
I don't agree.
No, you're wrong. See, the drama. Part of my role as Dean of the Arts and as a professor and mentor is not to just get you ready for your first job. I'm actually getting you ready for your last job. And YouTube University doesn't write letters of recommendation for my students. And I just keep looking at Northeast Indiana going, there's so much potential. Think of the economic impact that'll have.
Oh, yeah.
And it hit me like, why are we not doing S-tier quality feature filmmaking in Indiana? I've always told people, like, we're all going to Hollywood.
Well, instead you brought Hollywood here.
That's what I'm doing, man. That was really our goal. Let's bring the best of Hollywood, bring them to Huntington for these immersive capstone experiences like feature filmmaking. You can stay right here and do some incredible stuff right here.
You're listening to the NEI Pioneer Podcast, where we showcase and share authentic stories of Northeast Indiana. If you're new to our podcast, welcome. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube if you're watching, or follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you're listening, because you won't want to miss our latest stories. I am personally so excited to have today's guest on the podcast. Today, we have Lance Clark, who is Dean of the Arts and a professor at Huntington University. He's joining us today to talk about all the exciting things that are going on with the Huntington University Film Department. If you didn't know, I'm actually a graduate of Huntington University, so I've been through their film program and have actually learned under Lance Clark. So this subject is super close to home for me. Callie Herring is joined with Jonathan Sackett to get the inside scoop on the journey that Huntington University has taken to create feature films right here in Indiana. So if you're still one of those people that think Indiana is just cornfields, then like all of our other episodes, these stories are going to be changing your mind. Let's jump into it.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the NEI Pioneer Podcast, or welcome for the first time if it's your first time joining us. I'm Jonathan Sackett, the host and the head of MarCom here at NEI. And today, super excited because I have a very close friend of mine as a guest on here. And his name is Dr. Lance Clark, with the longest title I've never read before. So I'm just going to read it. He's the Dean of Arts at Huntington University, Professor of Digital Media Arts and Film. Because I can't memorize that.
I guess when you're around someplace for 30 plus years, they just
give you
pay
more
you with titles. They don't pay you anything more
don't get
than
money?
that. You just here's an extra word on your title.
Well, I'd like to. So today's kind of a special day, just because you and I are good friends. We met a year ago. I don't know if you know that.
Wow.
It's been 1 year.
Unbelievable.
And I have two of your former students working for us that are in the room with us today, and my co-host today is one of your former students,
Callie Herring.
I'm snapping on that.
And behind the camera, as usual, is
Hannah Hannigan.
voice of God from beyond.
This is so
And
amazing.
we've been talking to you since we launched the show just a few months back about getting you on here.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to tell you, man, it's an honor. You're awesome. I can't wait to hear some of the wisdom you spit upon us. It's going to be wonderful. But if you don't mind, can you just kind of start us out, tell us what you do, who you do it for with Huntington,
Sure.
et cetera?
No, yeah. My name's Lance Clark. That doctor part, it's in there somewhere. I had to do that like 20 years ago. So, but students call me Lance or Clark, or probably a lot of things behind my back that I don't know about. But
yeah, I'll say it later.
Lance. And I've been at Huntington University for going into my 32nd year,
Wow.
which is just unbelievable. And I've just had a blast. Every time I try to, if there's ever been an opportunity for me to look elsewhere, and there's been a few people knocking over the years, it's like, no, why would I do that? I absolutely love Northeast Indiana. Born and raised in this area, and I love my students at Huntington University. And the university's been absolutely fantastic to me in our program, and have given me opportunities to grow and expand and dream. And so that's what I do. I teach film production, TV production, and in the last 4 years, I've kind of put on a new hat. Now we're into feature filmmaking.
Yeah.
And I've got 2 features under my belt, working on pre-producing 2 more features, and I'll be directing our next feature film.
We're gonna get into those too, because I honestly, because I'm not from Indiana, I never even heard of Huntington. I never heard of it. And when our CEO, Stefan, brought me over, he said, look, you got to meet this guy, Lance Clark. You got to meet him. And I met you, and I was like, oh, my God, this guy's like...
I think, did we instantly just like have a bromance going on there for a second? It was really bizarre.
You're too much like me. That's the problem. and it's a little bit scary.
You're the younger brother I never had. I have a younger brother, and you would love Troy, too. I love Troy, but you are definitely
I didn't know
a younger brother that I never had.
I didn't know there was a me in Indiana at Huntington University. So nice to meet me. So if you wouldn't mind talking about what got you into teaching? Why teaching, I guess?
You know, it was in grad school. I come from a kind of a family of teachers. My mom's a teacher. My dad was a teacher preacher. And it's kind of in my blood, I guess. And I took a grad school class on teaching communication. I had to take it, so I took it. I fell in love with it. And decided, well, maybe this is something I should look at here. And but there's that old axiom, right? Those that do can, and those that don't teach. Right. And I had that in the back of my head even like 5 years ago when I was in grad school, and I was like, I don't want to be that guy that like, I can't do it, kids, but here's how you do it, And I said, I'm going to change that. I'm going to teach and do. So I started my own production company a couple years into teaching at Huntington, and I've got my own video production side hustle production company that I've had for years, and that's been my summer job. Professors are on like a 9-month contract. So three months out of the year, we're out side hustling, and that's what I've done. So, and then I pull that experience back into the classroom, and then I turn around. I've hired students like Hannah and Callie over the years on my projects, and give them real world experience, and it's been great.
Huntington has been such a friend of NEI. It's incredible. In fact, I wouldn't have been able to put this team together if it wasn't for you. Wow. Not just because of the great skills that you've taught them, but honestly, if we didn't have this relationship where I can call you after 10 o'clock at night and ask you a quick question here and there, or you can text me like last night after 11, it's nice that we have that relationship. But honestly, like that's what we need. Mm-hmm. I need the students to be coming up. They need to get real practical, real world credentials, because everybody wants you to have experience when you get out of school nowadays. It's not the same as when we went to school by a long shot.
You started teaching at Huntington. What was the creation of the DMA department? What was that whole situation like?
Think about it,
Because what was there before?
Oh, there was a speech communications program.
Okay.
So actually, I mean, it's even this story even gets more crazy. I was actually a student at Huntington College back in the mid '80s. Believe it or not.
That was undergrad?
This body used to play soccer.
Was that undergrad?
Back in the day. So I was I had a soccer scholarship to go play soccer, and it was undergrad, and I went, so in '86 I was at Huntington as played soccer. And
wait, what position were you?
Fullback.
Okay.
And our high school didn't even have soccer. It didn't have football, so we played soccer. So I was one of the few kind of white guys in Indiana that played soccer back in the '80s. Everybody else was football, baseball, and tennis and golf. And I'm like, I'm soccer. So got a scholarship to Huntington, loved it. We had a little comm program. One night a week, we got to go into the communication area. It was a TV studio. They unlocked the door. They taught the class. They locked it up. Come back next week. That was it. And I went to the president my senior year, and I'm like, we really need a full-time guy to do this. Can you guys hire? I'm leaving, and he looked at me. He's like, Lance, good things come to people like you. Go out and get your MFA or master's and come back. And I'm like, ooh, that's an idea. So kind of did that. That was 89.
You weren't thinking that before that?
Wasn't thinking that really before that. I was going to Hollywood.
Wow.
And I've always told people, like, we're all going to Hollywood.
Well, instead you brought Hollywood here.
That's what I'm doing, man. And so I went to grad school, and then 4 years later I was back at Huntington teaching. And that was always my plan, Callie and Hannah, to, like, someday get film into the college setting. Hard to do that at kind of like, Huntington's no Ivy League school, but very intellectual and not really hands-on at the time. And it took a while, but we wedged in film studies. That was earth-shattering. Film studies happened in '98, then skip forward to 2004, and that's when we got a Lilly grant of like a couple $1 million, and the president said, hey, everybody go out and think about new programs. And think about 2004. What was happening in 2000? I'm looking this way. What was happening in 2004? You guys were born, right? 2000?
Barely.
Okay. So I'm tracking with you right now, Jonathan.
Anyway, thank you for joining us on the show.
And 2004, really pre all socials, pre all, YouTube, Twitter. None of that was around until 2007, 2008. 2004, though, there was this thing called the internet. It was still around, kind of figuring out what it was doing. And students, I've always grown our programs at Huntington through student scouting and figuring out what's cool out there. And in 2004, I had a ton of students, 2003, 2002, going, hey, we need to do more than what we're doing now. We want to make movies. We want to tell stories narratively. And the prices of tech was coming down a little bit. We were shooting on tapes, instead of like big beta, Max and all. So everything was getting a little smaller. DSLR was not a thing yet.
Editing equipment.
Editing was
coming.
It was yeah. We're not doing So 2000, I took a sabbatical. 2003 and 4 toured the nation, trying to figure out what is digital media. What is that? I don't know. I'm not really sure what it is. And then 2005 we launched the Digital Media Arts Program, which had 3 legs of the stool: film, animation, and TV production.
So you were a really big part of pushing that.
Yeah, I think I was used to help instigate that. And then I reached out to this a guy named Phil Vischer, who started VeggieTales back in the day out of Chicago.
Yep.
And VeggieTales had hit a rough bump because of some problems with their Jonah film and merchandising and all that kind of stuff. And I reached out to Phil because they were letting a lot of people go. And I said, Phil, who do you got that would maybe be interested? One, I reached out to Phil, said, Phil, would you like to come teach at Huntington University? Phil Vischer. I did. I just went for it, and he's
Jeez,
like,
Lance,
he's like,
not like you to be so bold.
He's like, yeah, and he's like, Lance, I appreciate this, but I don't think I'm really called to be a teacher, because I was gonna come and do whatever you want, just move your studio here.
Yeah.
And I said, but all right, who do you know? Who do you know that can come in? And so he gave me a couple names, and we reached out. We hired these 2 guys. And within a couple years, we were one of the largest programs at Huntington University, digital media, and we are one of the largest now. I think we have close to 300 students studying digital media arts at Huntington.
It's amazing, and especially with the side things that you and I are working on with that university, and I hope we can get that pushed through. I think we will. That would be big news. Get you on the show and announce that.
Please, I want to talk about it, but we can't talk about it. But we're dreaming, right?
Yes.
We're dreaming big, and exciting things could really be happening for Northeast Indiana and all things digital media.
Well, I would argue that you put Huntington on the map, and hopefully together we could put Northeast Indiana on that map.
Let's do it. Northeast NEI is going to put this region on the map in such a huge way here. You guys have done such a great job already starting to do that, and what you guys are doing is just unbelievable. 5 years ago, if you were to probably do surveying, do you guys know what NEI is? I bet few people would even know what it was. And now today, you guys are quickly becoming the belle of the ball in the community.
Yeah, it's been great, and it took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. I'll tell you that much. And while I was trying to build the team, I'll never forget the day that you called me and you said, "I've got this girl in my office," and it was Callie. Do you remember that call?
Were you sitting in my office?
Yes.
I just cold called you, right? I do that all the time.
Yeah.
That's how I do it. I just get my phone out. I'm like, we'll have a conversation with students, and I'll be like, okay, wait, I'm calling Jonathan right now. Who's Jonathan? Oh, you're going to meet Jonathan.
We're going to find out.
Yeah, she found out the hard way, but whatever.
Yeah. And that's been the journey, honestly. In 2004, we launched it. And then in 2016, 17, we launched our Phoenix Center out there. And now we're we're like the 4th ranked college and university in the nation for film and TV.
It's amazing.
As far as awards and everything. It's thousands of awards. And I say it honestly with all humility, it is not me. It's a team. I love friend raising. I love getting the best, smartest people around me, because I'm not that smart and I'm not that great. So I like to surround myself with just great people. And Huntington, Indiana, where is Huntington? Right? Where is Huntington? When we cast, and and both Callie and Hannah have done this, when you cast it on Backstage, number one thing we'd get from the actors are, Huntington?
Where is that?
We're casting out of Chicago and Detroit and Huntington Beach, California? No, Huntington, Indiana, which is a part of Northeast Indiana, and things are happening.
Look at what happened with Austin. This can happen anywhere. What you pulled off there was rubbing 2 sticks together to build a mansion is pretty impressive.
Thank you, and we're just blessed. Seriously, we are. We're blessed. I have some of the best faculty of any college around, and I have absolutely some of the best students around. I mean, they're just fantastic. I was just speaking at Homestead High School yesterday,
get out.
And we recruited one of their top award-winning students in the state. One of the top award-winning students in the state of Indiana is coming to Huntington this fall.
Wow.
He's going to light a match.
Wow.
And that's what we do. We just get these kids to come in who just, Callie, think about it back in the day when you were there.
I was going to say, you talk about it's not me, I'm building a team around me, have really great faculty. But I think a really strong point that Huntington has is, yes, the faculty are great, obviously, in the classroom, but facilitating a environment in which the students feel good enough to explore and try new things
take
without take those risks
that.
without
Let's definitely
fear
take some
of
risk,
crazy consequences. I think that is what makes the program really shine, because yes, in the classroom is amazing. You get those skills and you learn those things to then take it outside of the classroom, but really what happens outside of the classroom with just your friends making a little video or coming together as a team to get stuff done, that is really where the magic happens, I feel like.
And one of the things I say a lot is can't is the cancer of can, right? It's can. We're can. I'm yes and. I say yes probably to too much stuff. I get in trouble with that, but it's that's how we've done it. I mean, let's take some risk, and you learn through failure.
Yeah, you're supposed to learn through failure. A lot of people can't handle that. I mean, that's human nature.
Fear keeps people from taking risks.
Well, I also love what you said about you're only as good as the people around you, your team. I'm the opposite. I mean, I'm better than all of these guys.
Right.
Clearly, big fish in small pond.
Yeah,
we like that about you.
Bryce is turning off the camera.
Nice.
Look, so can we talk about this? So the trajectory.
Yeah.
Okay, you come in there, you get this idea, you go out, you get your master's, you come back. What was standing in your way?
At Huntington, it took a while. It took a while, and I've just always played the long game. I'm just playing. I'm patient. I'll wear you out with my patience, and I think it's been proof in the pudding. Our students have been so successful, winning awards. Curriculum has been solid. They're getting great jobs. Look at here, fantastic jobs, and all around the country and in the world. One of our students, Jason Latino, runs. He's running Larian Studios, one of the top game design companies in the world.
Wow, I didn't know that. Okay.
In Scotland or Ireland. Sorry,
Ireland.
Jason.
Yeah.
And his new game just came out, came out a month ago. He has 100 employees underneath him and stuff. He was our very first digital media arts graduate.
Get out of here.
Yeah,
Well, this couldn't have been. This couldn't have been easy. I mean, you're making it seem like
it was not easy. It's just I'm persistent and patient, and it's just people want to be a part of success too.
Yeah.
And we're successful, and we're grateful, and we're kind. We're nice.
Kinema.
We have this Kinema manifesto, which is hey, how about you just treat people nicely and kind and be hospitable, and guess what? You can have some talent. Talent helps, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
But people want to work with good people.
Yeah.
And so we're cranking out good people.
Well, you know what? I wouldn't describe you as being a patient man. I don't know. I think you're training yourself to be patient.
I'm patient on the outside. Inside, I'm it should have happened yesterday. And so, yeah. And then you know what happened? And I don't want to steal your thunder on what's coming up next, but I'll tell you, 2000 was a very pivotal year for us because that was the COVID year. Let's go back to spring of 2000, which is exactly 4 years ago now as the taping of this podcast. And we had 10 students in Los Angeles. We had built into our curriculum was go out to LA for a semester, your senior year, play Hollywood, intern, blah, blah, blah. And then, you launch after that. And COVID hit, and they sent everybody home. Remember, we all got sent home for 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks.
Yeah. It'll
turned into 2 months, turned into 2 years. So we had to cancel that whole program. Callie came in right as we were making some, and Hannah was on the front end of that too. I think you came in as a LAFSC student probably. And we're like, sorry, it's just not happening now. We can't do it. So Matt and I, who's my film partner at the university, we said, what are we going to do? And that's when you said, you're bringing Hollywood here. That was really our goal. Let's bring the best of Hollywood, the best of the entertainment industry in the film and TV world, bring them to Huntington for these immersive capstone experiences like feature filmmaking. And we don't have to send kids out. They can go out on their own if they want to. And we still have students that, want to go out to LA and do the LA thing, but you don't have to anymore. You can stay right here and do some incredible stuff right here.
Yeah, and having lived in New York, LA, and Chicago with the mass exodus going on, I can tell you that talent is now all over the country. It was a shotgun blast.
And there's a catchphrase that I'm loving, but one of my friends who is a creative in Huntington said, "Hey, if we build it, they will come home."
Yeah, that's right.
And that's what's happening. Creatives from all over the country are coming back to Indiana because cost of living is fantastic.
Yep, we were the
communities
sixth.
are fantastic.
We were rated 6th in the country.
Unbelievable
for cost of living. Yeah.
And you can do so much stuff now with remote and the cloud and all that. You can be creative right here.
Hi, everyone. We want to take a quick moment to shout out our podcast sponsors. Now, first, you might be wondering who I am, so let me introduce myself. I am Hannah Hannigan, and normally I'm behind the camera as the videographer, but today I wanted to be in front of the camera to shout out the people who made this podcast possible. Barrett McNagny and Sweetwater Sound are the two sponsors of our podcast, and they're both located in Northeast Indiana. If you don't already know who they are, let me introduce them to you. We're going to start with Barrett McNagny. As Fort Wayne has grown, the Barrett Law Firm has grown with it. Founded in 1876, Barrett McNagny is one of the oldest law partnerships in Indiana, and it's among one of the largest just in Northeast Indiana. They have the breadth of experience across a wide range of practice areas to provide you trusted legal counsel where and when you need it. And Sweetwater is actually the one we were able to purchase most of our audio and video gear from to make this podcast. So if you like how this podcast sounds or how it looks, be sure to check them out. Sweetwater, the nation's largest, and I would also add friendliest destination for music gear, is also your one-stop shop for all things podcasting. From audio interfaces, recording software, mixers, microphones, cameras, and lighting, Sweetwater has everything to get your podcast up and running. Enjoy personalized gear advice from their dedicated team of sales engineers, as well as free technical support to get your podcast connected and up and running. Really, what's not to love about that? So whether you already have a following or you're still chasing the next big thing, Sweetwater is going to be the ones to help you create a podcast that everyone will be talking about. So if you're interested in either of these companies, be sure to check out the links in our description. Now, let's get back to the podcast.
So what was your role on Wayfaring Stranger?
Wayfaring Stranger is our first feature film. It's a SAG film, by the way. And I only say SAG, Screen Actors Guild, because I had no idea what a thing SAG was and what that meant to the production process. One, it increases your budget by about 40%.
Oh, yeah, easily.
But two, it opened you up to some incredible people, that are not SAG actors. But Stephen Baldwin was our main SAG actor that we brought on, and then everybody had to be SAG rate at that in the acting world. But I was a producer on that.
Okay.
I'm one of 2 producers on that project.
How close to home is that? Is the storyline?
The storyline is actually my childhood story.
Yep.
And I have some exciting news breaking right now. First podcast, first announcement. But just yesterday, we have a solid nationwide distribution deal that will go into effect for Wayfaring Stranger, and it's going to be released this June of 2024.
Congratulations.
So it's been a thing, man. And our first feature, I was very naive about that. I like to tell people we know how to make movies. Forrester Film is our company. Under the auspice of Huntington University, but these are not student films. These are professional films with students interning on them. Forrester Film produced its first feature film, Wayfaring Stranger. We produced our second feature film, Patterns, which premieres next week at Huntington University, and then we're pre-producing Overhill Manor, which I'm directing next spring, 2025, and then I'm pre-producing another film coming out in 2027, which is going to be about the history of race cars. It's going to be very exciting.
Wow.
And I can't say too much about that because we're in the early stages of that. But, I was a producer on Wayfaring Stranger. It's my life story as a kid. My parents were incredible people, and they always took in, the film's titled Wayfaring Stranger right now, and my parents always took in Wayfaring Strangers. In the community. If a drifter came through, they knew where they could come for a hot meal and maybe spend the night. Yeah, I mean, I grew up with that happening all the time.
Wow.
And so we had this drifter come in, and his name was Glenn Frank, and he had a brand new 1968 Martin D19 guitar, and I fell in love with it. I actually have it today. Sweetwater did a complete polish, renovate, get it all ready for the film. It was, and that Glenn inspired me to get into the arts, actually. and into music and everything. He played a pivotal role in my life during that, when I was a little kid, but didn't know him long. He wasn't in my life very long, but helped transform the community, and the community helped transform Glenn. And he got a second chance. He was a whiskey-soaked alcoholic and got sobered and turned his life around. And
cool.
So you got to see the movie. It's really great.
Well,
film.
you guys sold out the premiere. So
we did.
I was late to
I know.
the ball.
We'll get you in a theater this summer.
One?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was wondering, since it is such a personal story, one, it would probably, I feel like if it was me, it'd be a little funny asking a friend and a colleague of yours to rewrite for the screen a story that is so yours, and then also to be on set as these things are playing out, and you're seeing little you.
I had to really bifurcate, and like half my brain was producer Lance, and then my other half of my brain is, that oddly
me.
feels similar to when I was a kid, because it's a period piece, early 70s. We had over 14 stock, classic cars and all the wardrobe, everything. Speaking of Baldwin, we both worked with the Baldwin brothers.
Yes.
Baldwin came in with 100 pounds of clothes and shoes, and everything was period piece. I think he thought he was showing up to a movie and we didn't know what we were doing, and I think he's done a lot of small indie films, and so he was like, I'm going to come and be ready for this, and he was blown away. He came in, he was like, wow, and he did a show with us. We did a came in, he was like, that was one of the best experiences that he had. He was only on set for 1 week, and his mother passed away that week and everything. It was a tough week for him, and he was very gracious. And
how long did the
really
shoot last?
It was 4 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, 4 weeks, 20 days of principal photography.
10-hour days, easy.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well over that. Yeah.
Well over.
So yeah.
Wow.
It was set up. It is set up to be real world experience. I mean, Callie, how long were you on?
I was about a week and a half on it.
Week and a half. We filmed in 2022, and there was still this thing called COVID around, I believe, in 2022, and we had a COVID outbreak, and it was still when SAG mandated that everybody did PCR tests every couple days and swabs and all. I mean, they just wreaked havoc in the industry, and it was expensive, by the way. But we had a great, we got lucky. We had some PCR tests that we were able to get a hold of. But anyway, everybody's breaking out COVID, and I literally made a 911 call to Callie. Right? I'm like, Callie, 15% of my crew is out.
I need you. Can you
what
do
are you
this
doing
tomorrow?
I do that to her every day.
Yeah,
So.
she graciously showed up on set, and I mean, there was one
Incredible
point where I lost my
experience.
whole audio team.
Wow.
The main audio guy and the boom operator and the second audio assist, they both were all out for COVID
Wow.
for a whole week, and I'm literally up at night, like
Fourth of the
doing what
time.
producers. And my main thing, what I kept telling everybody on set is, producers got to produce. Producers got to produce. Producers got to produce. I had to produce.
So that was the first movie.
That's the first movie. Yeah.
What was the second one?
It's called Patterns.
Okay, can we talk about that?
The difference between Patterns and Wayfaring had probably 140 extras, multiple locations, period piece, and it was just bigger scope and scale all the way around. And we literally just covered so much ground on that. I think we turned around and did a film immediately, like 10 months later, and it was crazy. And so smaller scope and scale. We went from bigger for an indie film, I guess I would call it, bigger budget, bigger everything, and you just went, and we micromanaged it down to like six actors, 2 locations. We filmed at this one house for like 15 days.
Wow.
It was so chill. I mean, I'm not saying there weren't any problems, because there were problems, but challenges to face, but just different. Were you a role on that at all? Did you help on the edges
I
at
wasn't
all?
there,
That
but
support structure for your friends, though. I know.
Yeah,
and you heard, it was just different.
Yeah.
I think the biggest challenge was, for me as a producer, was just making sure everybody was happy, comfortable on set, and it went pretty well. And it really is a heartwarming film. And it's a story about sibs that got to come home. They're adults. They've got to go home because their mom had just passed away and their dad has dementia. And what do we do with dad? I mean,
was it based on
a true life story of the writer Rachel Hart wrote the story. It's based on her family.
Okay.
And so it's a heartwarming story, again, drama based, a lot of angst, a lot of but they say there's nothing, you cannot violate this principle in film or television, right? You cannot have 2 people sitting in a scene agreeing with each other.
I don't agree.
No, you're wrong. See the drama.
See,
the
you
spike,
can feel the tension
right
in here.
So this has a lot of that. It's good angst, and in the end, it's really about forgiveness and restoration and just learning how to deal with that. And so many people can relate to that topic of having a loved one that has dementia. It's really a thing.
Yeah, and it's becoming more common, and they're also
common.
not figuring out why, which is very scary.
It is, but treatable. I mean, there are ways to comfort that situation and bring more hope to that situation now. And it's not a film all about dementia. That is that's a theme for sure. But it's really about these siblings coming back and trying to figure out life together and secrets and all that.
First of all, I'm surprised that you did those two films that close,
Well,
back to back. And the reason why I break,
He said,
yeah,
"Me too."
Now
we
that
ain't
makes
doing
sense.
that again.
Yeah, okay. Because
we learn our lesson on that one.
Because let me tell you something. When over the years, we've done. We've been a part of feature films. Most of the things that we've done over the years with my teams have been commercials and reality TV shows and things like that. But I'll tell you something. The biggest challenge that I ever have is I have this bad habit of continuously. You'll feel the collective groan in this room in a second. I got to keep outdoing myself. I got to keep outdoing myself.
Yeah, you got to challenge.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. and it drives.
Does he come into your group meetings and just drop a bomb, pull out the pin of the grenade, like guys?
Yeah, no comment from me.
Even Hannah behind the camera is nodding her head right now.
I do that a little bit too.
I can't help myself.
I know.
That the ideas just burst from me, and it's not. I always had a theory back when I was in the music industry that it was I wasn't writing the songs; they were written, and I was grabbing them. And it just that's
you just had to pull them in, right?
And we've been doing some really neat things here, as you said, with NEI. But the thing is, I can't stop thinking about what's next. I get the impression from knowing you that you're the same way.
We're definitely, we have to be related somehow. I don't know where, but we'll figure that out someday. But I definitely have that entrepreneurial spirit about it, and I just keep looking at Northeast Indiana, going, there's so much potential. For probably the last 25 years, I think every summer I've produced a series of United Way videos that help go out and raise awareness and support. I know you've worked on one. Hannah, did you ever work on one of my United Way videos? You're lucky you got out of that one.
She dodged the
United Way bullet. And for a while there, I was doing 6 counties in this region.
Wow.
How do we have 11 in Northeast Indiana? I was doing 6 of those.
Wow.
And I got to go in to all these communities and meet all the people, and I fell in love with Northeast Indiana. And since COVID hit, and since we started pulling people to Indiana, it's think of the economic impact that'll have.
Oh yeah,
and it is having.
Yeah.
We're doing, and it hit me like, why are we not doing S-tier quality feature filmmaking in Indiana, and especially in this region? And so that's my next big time goal, right? To transfer this, put Huntington, Allen County, Fort Wayne, all the regional areas into feature filmmaking. Slow. We've done 2 features. We're into our 3rd. And now word's getting out. It's not like a pipe dream anymore.
No.
You're like, you guys are serious about it.
But I think just again, coming from the outside, the problem was the perception. And the perception was cornfields. Hoosiers, of course you could shoot something like that here or whatever. But yeah, exactly.
Or Stranger Things.
No.
Can't be filmed in Indiana.
No, and that's
until recently.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that I think the outside perspective, I never looked at Indiana that way until I started doing my own research before I moved here, and I didn't realize all the talent, and I didn't realize that there's a lot. I mean, some of these towns, Warsaw and things like that,
man.
There's beautiful small towns, and there's
locations.
also Fort Wayne City. I mean, you've got enough resource.
Indy's
here.
a stone's throw away. You can pop down there.
Exactly.
It's great, and I mean, and there's so many talented people.
Yeah.
I mean, literally talented people. There's a guy named Jake who I can throw his name out. Jake Dials. He's an actor. He came from Atlanta. COVID hit. He comes back in the region. And I meet him at my house. He was doing a service-type job for me, and he saw my drone on my kitchen countertop, and he's like, oh, drone? Like, we got in a conversation. He's an actor.
What?
And now Jake's acted in several of our student
I
projects
love
and
that.
everything. It's like, they're just, it's everywhere. He's from Wabash.
Okay.
And so it's like, there's so much potential here.
Yeah,
And
I think the good news and the bad news is the same in that sense, because it's once the secret is out and it's getting out, it's going to present a whole new bunch of challenges.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Because right now you don't have to stand in line. You're the line.
Well, I'm in line with a few other creatives in the area too, and I'm all supportive of that.
Yeah.
Like, hey, the more projects that are happening, the better.
There's
right?
enough room for all of
there
us.
sure is. I mean, we can't do more than one project at this point. We're not Blumhouse or anything like that.
Not yet.
So I mean, not yet. I would love that if we were like not the non-horror film version of filmmaking, but if we could be cranking out, several projects a year, I would love that, because I love project management. So,
well, I just have two more quick questions, and
yeah.
I think we're doing a rapid fire with you too. But
can't wait for that.
The question I have is, do you have, having gone through all you've gone through, and with obvious success, you're teaching people, you're getting them out in the world, that's helping Indiana any way you look at it. But is there anything that you would give your younger self, any advice that you would give to your younger self in preparation for all that you've been through to get to this point?
That's a great question. I think I wish I would have understood more how the politics of tax incentives work.
Yeah, because we had the 80% rebate in Chicago for a while there, and it backfired.
I didn't understand the business side of feature filmmaking as well as I was very naive about that. And a big thing that Indiana is now starting to get on board with is is a tax incentive, and that's fantastic. And we're still working with the State House and good state representatives. They were in a short term this year. I think the longer term next year is when we're going to see a transferable tax credit.
It's got to happen.
It's got to happen, and it is one of the things that if we build it, they will come. So we're hoping, there is yet to be a real sizable, sound stage in the state, and we're hoping to knock on that door to get some sound stages going, and then you'll start seeing, the HBOs and the Apples and the bigger companies coming in to want to film in Indiana, because Indiana does have a lot to offer. We're not new to that. I mean, we're really behind on getting transferable tax credits, but I think the state is starting to understand that this is a viable commodity. We live in a visually rich culture. The average American, according to a latest statistic that I just read about last week, is consuming about 34 hours of media content a week. And you're looking at me going, it's that low?
Yeah,
I mean, but I'm talking the average, right?
Yeah, because there's
34 hours a week of media content consumption. I want to be a part of that pie.
Yeah.
I want to get on that pie. That's a lot of content out there.
And it's going to get bigger. And when you're talking about the whole tax incentive thing, Atlanta did it right. When they did it, when they came out with that, it was copycat syndrome by everybody, because New York, Chicago did the 80% rebate thing. And the problem is they nickel and dime you on Skyline and things like that. There's a tax on any shots you take.
Sure.
And you can't, the more that you nickel and dime on a production set, the more these people will not come back.
You got to make it so easy for people.
Yes, plug and play.
To get in and out, come in, do it. It's bringing everybody in. They're paying for hotels, housing, restaurants. I mean, think of all the consumption that goes on, building sense, lumber, all the way down through the line. I didn't understand any of that.
I
didn't.
Food, hotels,
you talk to a
scripts.
25-year-old Lance that came in 1993 to Huntington, University. I didn't understand all that, but the industry has changed so much since then. And even on distribution, it's radically changed since even 2000.
Oh yeah.
It's a whole new world out there. How do you take your product to market?
Right.
And with all the AVODs out there,
it's so crowded out there.
It's so crowded. 15% of people actually go weekly to a movie.
Yeah.
Okay, 15% of all movie goers go weekly. That's not a big percentage, but hey, I want in on that pie too. But the vast majority now are going to all the VODs, all the TVOD, SVOD, AVOD, and that's now where really you're seeing distributors are more excited about, hey, how do we get you to SVOD? How do we get you to, transactional video on demand? How do we get you into, the Tubies, the freebies, all that? And that language didn't even exist 5 years ago. Like,
no,
it's so new
and the challenge
and radical.
is it's so proliferated out there that everybody's fighting each other for the same content. So the thing is that
they need content.
They need content.
They're starved for new content.
There's so many outlets that it's no mistake that they did it that way because everybody piled on that bandwagon. But now they're realizing, we don't have anything to show, to actually put out there. I mean, even YouTube. What the last statistic I saw was 1 million videos a day are uploaded to YouTube.
I believe.
I think it might even be an hour.
I can't remember
internationally wise.
Yeah,
I mean, it's crazy.
It's
how
crazy
much
because
people
what
are
happens
uploading
is
to YouTube.
you then trying to find what you want and trying to binge watch something and whatever else. If you can't find it, you can't see it. And the proliferation, and plus now we're going into an election year, and that makes it even harder to get it out there.
Yeah, we're you got to cut through the clutter.
Yeah.
With your message, and I tell you what, NEI's done a fantastic job of figuring out how to do that. I mean, I think this podcast is an amazing way to cut through the clutter, and the way that you guys are able to get you kind of have a megaphone now, and you can get out there and cut through the clutter. Getting your film into distribution or your show or whatever, you have to be patient. It's not about casting the widest net anymore. You're going after niche audiences.
Yep.
It's about reaching out to who's in your network, who do you know, and having our films come through the university. We've got a nice network there, tied into a regional network here. I mean, yeah, we do family-friendly films. That's kind of what we're doing. Faith and family-friendly films, and I think there's a wide audience for that.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't mean we wouldn't be open to taking on other projects as they come in, but we're having to narrow in on who is it we're going after, and how do you get butts and seats in a theater, and then how do you get eyeballs on all the video on demand stuff that's out there, and it's democratizing. It's exciting. There aren't just like 5, film companies out in LA anymore controlling it and who gets in and not. I mean, it's definitely helped, but it is definitely a little bit of the wild, wild west right now when it comes to it. And we're riding that wave, man. We're here. We're ready to do it.
Well, then, the last question I think I have before we go into a rapid fire is, so what's next for Huntington for the film school?
Yeah, I think the film school is still pushing into what we call the capstone film program, where you take that immersive semester and push into maybe a niche area that you like, whether it's post or production design or directing, producing, and hooking up with mentors in that way that will help guide you into that feature film or TV or whatever documentary that you want to get into. We're pushing into that. And I think we're also still trying to figure out how do we make the user experience very satisfying, being the student, they're a client. How do we make that a really satisfying experience so that when they launch out there, they're ready to get into their first job? But I also have to remind my students all the time, part of my role as Dean of the Arts and as a professor and mentor is not to just get you ready for your first job. I'm actually getting you ready for your last job. And I don't know what that job's going to be. That job might have not even been created yet.
Probably not.
But I got to get you ready to know how to work as a team, work in a team, how to serve others, how to not be afraid to find your voice and make that known, how to outwork, outplay, outserve, outthink, be that person that everybody wants to work with. And that's never going to change. One of the things that we're really good at is teaching, the basics. And I like to tell people, we're not YouTube University.
No.
If we all go to it. I'm guilty. How do I do the one overlay on the one thing? Okay, YouTube. And what Huntington is really, really good at is the fundamentals that never change.
No.
Why do the lighting like that? Color theory, mise-en-scene, all that. Fundamentals never change. And YouTube University doesn't write letters of recommendation for my students. They don't network. They don't pull out the phone and call Jonathan Sackett when you got a student.
I mean, shouldn't
like
everybody?
Callie. Yeah,
really?
right. So I love it. I love what I do. I'm very challenged. I can't wait to see what the next 10, 15 years are going to hold. It's going to be mind-boggling to think of what's coming out here.
Well, it's exciting for us to watch too. So, hey, congratulations on all the success.
Thank you, and we want to continue partnering with you guys
well, I think
into
I've
the
given
future.
3 or 4 speeches over at
yes, you
so
have.
far.
You're the you're the belle of the ball, man.
Listen. If you can't tell, I'm not shy. So getting up there is fun. It's fun for me.
Oh, there's one other thing that I was curious about. Obviously, the program is successful so far. Only working on like third year.
Yeah.
But what I'm wondering what kind of feedback you're getting, because I assume from your perspective and things like that, and me being very close to Huntington, I obviously hear from students that are a part of it and all good things, like really excited to be on those projects and wow, it's so awesome we're doing these great things. But even externally, I know you mentioned something about the Mr. Baldwin saying he was impressed by the production of all of it. Like, what have you heard from outside people?
The mentors that come in that we hired as our department heads, in the camera and grip and electric and sound and production design, all those different department heads, audio, I don't want to leave them out. They're very important. They all walk away going, we had no idea that a college could pull off something like this. That and they love it. The pros love it. Outside of that, when you get into industry, more out in the industry, as I'm networking with folks in the industry, they're like, "What? You're doing films through the university? So they're student films? They're just confused, and they see the quality of work." And we just brought on an incredible marketing partner with us, Sandoval Agency out of Phoenix, and these guys couldn't believe it. They were like, "How are you doing this?" Like, they're just blown away. And they do marketing for big, huge films like Wick and John Wick and Mission Impossible. They're the ones that like go out and push all the social and get people to watch and stuff. It was just it was a relationship that I had to get a hold of them.
Good for you.
And it's a huge partnership. It's awesome. And these guys are like, they caught the mission. Everybody loves the mission of training the next generation of filmmakers.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, that's probably the thing we hear is like, one, they want to know how we're doing it, and there's no magic secret sauce in that. It's just hard work, and then just having a great product. And then I think that's what's done it. I mean, I think they're just slowly kind of realizing, it's education meets professional level, having a good story, right? We work hard at that.
But I think it's
gotta have a good story.
I think you're showing purpose and promise.
Yeah.
And people, I can do it too. That's the whole platform. That's the whole platform that we came up with the Pioneer thing, that you talk to the people who did it here. Yeah. That's why you're here. Yeah. So I'm telling you, in the next few years, you're going to really see not just big changes in the industry, you're going to see changes in the way people are looking at you guys. Because I couldn't believe it myself.
Yeah. It's fun. And there's so many good people in this industry.
Yeah.
They're just great
Believe it or
people.
not, yeah.
They're great people. The Hollywood of course there's some bad actors in Hollywood, but there's bad actors in every industry. This is just, there's so many good people, and people just want to tell good stories and encourage others and inspire others. And
dun dun dun, rapid fire questions.
Okay, let's do this.
Okay, number 1.
Okay.
Favorite movie of all time?
And that's a completely unfair question for somebody that works in the film industry. What are you doing to me?
Sorry.
When we were
Are
talking
you
yesterday,
kidding me? I'll tell you one that lit the fire for me was the very first film I ever saw in a theater, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh.
And I saw that when I was in 8th grade, by the way. Very sheltered child. But that scene of the ball rolling down and chasing Indiana Jones and all that, that first 10 minutes just transformed my life. I'm like, I sat there when I just sat there and I don't know what I just experienced. It's almost spiritual, and I want to be a part of this as an 8th grader. So, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Wow.
We'll go for that.
Number 2, do you prefer filming indoors or outdoors?
Indoors. But you know why? Because you can communicate more effectively indoors than you can outdoors.
Get rid of the megaphone.
And just the everybody spread out everywhere. It's like herding cats when you get outside.
As a producer, that would make sense for sure.
Got my producer hat on right now for that one.
Do you prefer corporate media or narrative films?
I love both. I kind of grew up with corporate. I love corporate in the fact that it's immediate kind of gratification as far as like being on set, shooting, leaving, getting it done, turn around. I love features because it's a longitudinal relationship thing that I've been living in the Wayfaring Stranger world now for 4 years, and it's probably got another couple on the back end of it. So, yeah, I didn't really answer your question.
No, that makes sense. Number 4, favorite student of all time.
Oh, well, there 2 of them are sitting in the room right now. You know, I clearly,
Stacked
2 of them are
deck
sitting
on
in the
that
room
one,
right
man.
now.
I made sure to exclude that
thank you,
question
thank
from my
you.
email
That
too.
was
Well, I
great.
threw one
That
in
was-
there too, I think.
That was great.
Yes. Next, favorite commercial that you've
Oh,
ever
come
seen.
on. Favorite commercial. Okay, 2 come to mind.
Nothing Geico, nothing M&M's.
No, they have to be. You know, Mr. Geico's in the room here, but I like the "What's up." Remember that one?
Yeah, the DDB.
That's yours.
I didn't. No.
What's
no.
up? What's up?
No.
Because it was just so repeatable. What's up?
Well, remember we were doing that was for Bud Light, and we had the Budweiser account at
my
DDB.
gosh.
Those guys shot that, and we hired them.
Oh my gosh,
So
incredible!
I will take full credit for
Thank
anything.
you.
No.
Repeatable, and that's the next one that comes to mind was Hump Day, with the camel going through, and that's before I knew you had anything to do it. Hump Day, hump day. What's going on, dude?
My favorite Geico was the pig in the back seat, but
Love that one too.
You know, everybody
it could
talk-
go on and on and on.
When anybody talks about it, it's always Hump Day, and
Yeah.
people have written Hump Day on my computer.
Sure.
And
Yeah. No, those are epic, man. I'm honored to even know the person that was a part of that.
Perfect. And then the last one, this one's going to be hard. Like, you have to choose your favorite kid. But Wayfaring Stranger or Patterns?
Those are my 2 first film children. I'm probably leaning Wayfaring right now because it's done, and we're taking it out, and it's kind of, you know, he's grown up a little bit. Patterns is still kind of in its infancy
baby.
stage. It's a toddler, you know what I mean? But I love both my children equally on that part.
Of course.
And Overhill Manor, our 3rd film, I'm starting to fall in love with that child. Is a baby. And so that one's next spring, and I'm excited because I get to direct it. I'm so excited to do that. And just directed the short version of it, premiering next week, by the way, too. So
And I haven't had a chance to come see you on set, so let's make that happen.
we're going to do it. I want
Okay.
you on set.
I will
for
be
sure.
there.
All of you,
Okay.
please.
That's all I got?
And I think that's all we've got. I got to tell you, Dr. Lance Clark, you're the best. You are.
I love you guys.
And thank you for joining us, and thank you for all of the great things happening over at Huntington University. You can see the fulfillment of the product here on my team with Hannah and with Callie, of course. You can pick up the podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and PioneerStartsHere.com. So, Lance, thank you. You're a
you.
good friend, and you're doing such great things, and we really appreciate it. And you're never getting rid of me, and you know that.
That would be the last thing I'd want to do.
That's a threat. I just threatened you on camera. Well, thanks again for everybody for joining us. You know where to find us. Please like and share. Do all the stuff you're supposed to do with our social media. Thank you for joining us.